There's a woman at the end of your street. You've seen her car, a 2009 Toyota Camry with a faded bumper sticker from a vacation she took 12 years ago. She clips coupons, she bags her own groceries, she buys store-brand everything. Your neighbors feel sorry for her. They don't know she has $3.8 million in index funds. They don't know her mortgage has been paid off since 2017. They don't know she could write a check tomorrow and never work another day in her life. She knows all of this. That's exactly why she drives the Camry. This isn't a story about being cheap. It isn't a lecture about minimalism or frugality or living below your means. This is something deeper, something the people building real generational wealth figured out a long time ago, and something the people looking wealthy are still desperately trying to hide from themselves. Looking poor might be the most important financial strategy you ever adopt. Let's start with the numbers, because the numbers are shocking. Thomas Stanley and William Danko spent decades studying actual millionaires across America, not celebrities, not tech founders, not the ultra-wealthy you see on magazine covers. Ordinary millionaires, the ones living next door to you. Their findings destroyed every assumption about what wealthy people look like. The median price millionaires pay for their cars? $31,367. Not a Tesla, not a Range Rover, a normal car. An Experian automotive study found that 61% of people earning over $250,000 drive Hondas, Toyotas, or Fords. Regular cars. Cars that blend into any parking lot in America. And here's the part that should stop you cold. 8% of people earning under $100,000 own luxury vehicles. They are spending $60,000 on a car while making $50,000 a year. One group looks wealthy, the other group actually is wealthy. These are rarely the same people. Dave Ramsey's research on millionaire behavior confirmed the same pattern. The top car brand driven by millionaires? Toyota. Number 2, Honda. Number 3, Ford. BMW doesn't appear until number 6. Mercedes doesn't crack the list at all. Jeff Bezos drove a Honda Accord for years. Mark Zuckerberg was spotted in an Acura TSX. Larry Page, co-founder of Google, drove a Toyota Prius. Warren Buffett still lives in the same house he bought in 1958 for $31,500. These are not people who can't afford better. These are people who've decided that looking wealthy isn't worth the cost of actually being wealthy. To understand why most people do the opposite, you have to go back over a century. A sociologist named Thorstein Veblen introduced a concept called conspicuous consumption. His observation was simple and devastating. People don't just buy things for utility. They buy signals. A $50,000 watch tells time exactly as well as a $50 watch. The extra $49,950 doesn't buy function, it buys narrative. It buys the ability to signal status to every person who sees it on your wrist. Research confirms that people who view money primarily as a symbol of power and success report lower levels of financial satisfaction. They buy expensive things to impress others. They don't monitor their overall spending. They plan poorly. They feel the thrill of the purchase, then chase the next one. And here's the brutal irony. The pursuit of appearing wealthy creates the exact conditions that prevent actual wealth. Every leased BMW is a monthly payment that could have gone into investments. Every designer bag is shares of index funds that weren't purchased. Every status symbol has an opportunity cost, and that cost is measured not in dollars, but in decades of compound growth that will never happen. Stanley and Danko called these decisions million-dollar choices. If the choice hadn't been made, the person would have over $1 million more. They weren't small purchases, they were futures that got quietly sold. Let me show you what this actually costs. The difference between buying a $30,000 car and an $80,000 car, just one decision, invested over 25 years at 7% annual returns, is approximately $2 million. That's the real price tag on a luxury vehicle. Not the sticker price, the compounded price. The cigarette example from the original research makes it even more visceral. One couple smoked 3 packs a day for 46 years. The cumulative cost of those cigarettes exceeded the value of their home by $33,000. Had they invested that money instead, the portfolio would have exceeded $2 million. $2 million gone in smoke, literally. Now scale that thinking across every status purchase. The watch, the wardrobe, the dining, the vacations posted to Instagram. Each one seems small in the moment. Each one is enormous across a lifetime. Here's the compounding gap in its starkest form. 2 people, Same income, $200,000 a year. Person A saves 25% of that, $50,000 a year, and invests it. Over 25 years at 7% average returns, that grows to approximately $3.4 million. Person B saves only 5%, $10,000 a year, and spends the rest maintaining visible wealth. Same 25 years, same 7% returns. They end up with approximately $680,000. Person A looks middle class. Person B looks wealthy. Person A is wealthy. Person B is financially fragile. After 25 years, the invisible wealthy person has 5 times the net worth of the visible spender. 5 times. Not a little more, not somewhat better. 5 times. Stanley and Danko created a framework that separates wealth builders from wealth destroyers. Pause. Prodigious accumulators of wealth. UAWs. Underaccumulators of wealth. The categories have nothing to do with income, everything to do with behavior. A $50,000 a year janitor can be more of a paw than a $700,000 a year surgeon. The spending habits determine the category, not the salary. The formula is simple. Multiply your age by your pre-tax annual household income, then divide by 10. That's your expected net worth. A 40-year-old earning $150,000 should have approximately $600,000 in assets. If you're below that number, you're a UAW, spending income instead of building wealth. UAWs are often highly educated. They understand compound interest intellectually. They just don't practice it behaviorally. Their spending is driven by what researchers call the better than theory. Better car than the neighbor, better watch than the colleague, better vacation than the sibling. Each purchase is less about the thing and more about the comparison. A 2025 Empower study found that 62% of everyday millionaires still budget, shop deals, and avoid extravagant lifestyles, even after crossing the $1 million threshold. The habits that built the wealth are the same habits that protect it. There's another reason visible wealth is dangerous that most people never consider. According to Javelin Research, cybercriminals stole the identities of 6.4% of the general public in a recent year. That number jumped to 8.1% for high net worth individuals with assets of $1 million or more. A joint study by Experian and the Department of Justice found that affluent Americans are 43% more likely to experience identity theft compared to the general population. The more visibly wealthy you are, the larger the target on your back. High net worth individuals face what security experts call whaling attacks. Unlike mass scam operations, these are meticulously crafted campaigns using profiles assembled from social media, public records, and data breaches. Attackers impersonate trusted advisors, private bankers, even family members to extract sensitive information or authorize fraudulent transfers. Synthetic identity fraud is now the fastest growing type of financial crime in the United States. The Federal Trade Commission reported Americans lost $10.3 billion to fraud in 2023. Investment fraud alone accounted for $4.6 billion of those losses, with sophisticated schemes specifically targeting affluent individuals. Looking wealthy advertises exactly what you have. Looking ordinary protects it. The social dynamics of visible wealth create pressures that compound over time, just like investment returns, but in the wrong direction. When you drive a luxury car, people assume you can afford expensive dinners. When you wear designer clothes, colleagues expect you to pick up the tab. When you live in an affluent neighborhood, the baseline spending of everyone around you quietly inflates your own expectations. Over time, this produces echo chambers of class, different schools, different neighborhoods, different social circles. The comparison becomes relentless, the distance between tiers widens, and status signaling becomes more aggressive, not less. But here's the thing nobody tells you about visible wealth. It poisons your relationships. Research shows that high net worth individuals frequently report a paradox: increased power paired with decreased trust. Relationships become harder to evaluate. They can never be certain whether someone values them or values their money. Every friendship gets filtered through a lens of financial status. The person driving the old Camry doesn't have that problem. Their friendships formed before anyone knew what they were worth. Nobody treats them differently. Nobody expects them to pay more than their share. Nobody resents what they have, because nobody knows what they have. That is something money literally cannot buy. And then there are the children. Research from the Millionaire Next Door found a negative correlation between receiving financial gifts and accumulating wealth among children of affluent parents. The more adult children received, the less they built on their own. The reasoning is subtle but powerful. Giving money to adult children sends a subliminal message. I don't think you can make it without me. The children fail to distinguish between wealth they generated and wealth they were handed. They perceive themselves as more capable than they've actually proven, and that false perception creates dangerous spending habits. Parents who look wealthy face constant requests for financial support. Children grow up expecting inheritance rather than building their own foundation. Extended family members develop resentment or a sense of entitlement based on visible financial inequality. Parents who look middle class while being quietly wealthy can provide support strategically when it's truly needed, not under social pressure. Their children develop self-reliance because they don't know there's a safety net. Family relationships stay uncomplicated by visible financial disparity. The invisible advantage doesn't end with the wealth builder, it passes down. Here's the piece that ties it all together. Research on hedonic adaptation shows that increases in visible wealth create temporary spikes in happiness, and then the baseline returns. The BMW thrills you for 6 weeks, then it's just the car. The watch impresses for a few months, then it's just the watch. Each visible purchase delivers diminishing emotional returns while permanently reducing financial capital. Invisible wealth works differently. The growing net worth, the number you never show anyone, provides a constant, quiet sense of security that doesn't adapt away. You know you could handle any emergency. You know you could walk away from any job. You know your future is protected. That background certainty changes everything. Decisions become less fear-driven, relationships become less transactional, sleep becomes less interrupted by the low hum of financial anxiety. The visibly wealthy person is running on a treadmill that never stops. Every year requires new purchases to signal that they're still successful. The car ages, the watch loses its impression, the vacation photos fade from memory, so they're buy again and again. The invisibly wealthy person stepped off that treadmill entirely. Their identity isn't tied to what they consume. They've opted out of the display game, and in doing so, they've won a completely different game. Something interesting is happening in culture. According to Bain & Company's 2024 luxury report, affluent consumers are increasingly prioritizing longevity and craftsmanship over conspicuous display. Stealth wealth has become a form of modern social currency. A 2024 Accenture survey found that 52% of global shoppers now prefer influencers who showcase practical luxury rather than aspirational excess. After the TV show Succession ended, searches for quiet, understated luxury brands spiked globally. The appeal wasn't flashy logos or obvious branding, it was the opposite. Wealth so refined that only those who truly understand it can recognize it. The culture is catching up to what the actual wealthy figured out decades ago. Understatement isn't just a financial strategy, it's becoming the new signal of genuine sophistication. One final advantage that compounds quietly across an entire lifetime. Looking poor makes you a better negotiator in every single financial transaction you ever make. A car dealer treats someone in a Civic differently than someone in a Mercedes. A contractor quotes differently based on the neighborhood they're driving into. Service providers, salespeople, and real estate agents all calibrate their prices based on perceived ability to pay. Warren Buffett once noted that he never worried about being overcharged because nobody knew he was wealthy. His modest appearance gave him negotiating leverage that flashy consumption would have eliminated. The person who looks wealthy pays what you might call a wealth tax on everything they buy. Premium pricing, inflated quotes, reduced urgency from sellers who assume price is no object. The person who looks ordinary pays the standard rate, and over a lifetime of purchases, cars, homes, renovations, services, that pricing differential accumulates into enormous money. There's a person in a parking lot somewhere near you right now. Old car, nothing special, faded paint, maybe a small dent. Their coworkers assume they're struggling, living paycheck to paycheck, one emergency away from trouble. What those coworkers don't know, what they'll never know, is that this person could retire today, that their house is paid off, that their children's futures are fully funded, that every year they drive that car, their net worth quietly compounds into something their colleagues with their leased luxury vehicles and their carefully curated social media will spend their entire careers chasing and never reach. The quietly wealthy understand something most people never figure out. Wealth isn't what you show, it's what you keep. Every millionaire who drives a Toyota made a choice to value compound growth over social approval, a choice to build security rather than display status, a choice to play a game that most people don't even know exists. The cost of that choice is minimal. Some people will underestimate you. Some people will assume you have less than you do. Those are features, not bugs. The goal was never to impress people you don't know. The goal was always freedom, and freedom, it turns out, looks a lot like a 2009 Toyota Camry with a faded bumper sticker.